Another one. Take a deep breath in.
1, 2, 3, start.
That's a new way to start the episode.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to the episode على podcast Koon Rijjeil. So today, as you may or may not know, we have an incredible guest called Nour Bachir. So Nour is a life coach, started her new movement, community, startup called Bidaya. And I'm so excited to hear everything about Bidaya. Nour, welcome to Koon Rijjeil.
Thank you so much, Karim, for having me here today. I'm so excited on multiple levels. This is also my very first podcast interview. I'm a tiny bit nervous, but super excited.
Likewise.
Yeah.
So Nour, for anybody who doesn't know you, what should they know about your mental health journey?
Nice question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. It's a journey. It's not something that has a start date or end date. And I think what I would like to say is mental health is something that we all have. We can imagine it as a spectrum. And you can imagine it as a spectrum being maybe on a lower end where it needs attention or on a higher end where it's in a good place. All right? And I will definitely say, for people who don't know me, I've been in the lows and I've been in the highs. And there were places in my life where I was just jumping back and forth. But in the current state, I would say I've found a serene state, more or less. I don't like using good or bad as a word or an adjective, but a healthy space. I would say. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
So walk me through the low phases, the low states.
We're directly jumping into that.
We jump straight in.
So what put me in the low state? See, there are so many things in our lives that we encounter from early upbringing, later on, like as we go through teenager life, early adulthood, we encounter a lot of experiences, society, people, expectations, challenges. And so I would always also refer to the early upbringing, and because that's what shapes the most of our subconscious mind and how we perceive things, our mental map, basically, that guides us as we grow older. And so the realization that at some point that this mental map is no longer serving you creates a friction. And when that friction happens, you find yourself in a state of frustration, maybe despair, anger, pain. It's a mixture of emotions. And this is where I would say, so it's not one thing, it's multiple different things, whether it's memories, like I said, things that were triggering, an operating mode that no longer was viable at a certain point in time.
And at a young age, how did you overcome those? Because I mean, I'm gonna give you a bit of a background on me. Being at a young age where you're very super low confidence, low on every single metric there is, grades, I was failing in school, I was extremely overweight, never liked exercise, never liked to go out, didn't have a lot of friends. So for me, there's always comes a point in someone's life where you need to find your way, not because the way out sounds like you're escaping, but a way into fruition, into blossoming or fruition. So how did that look like for you? And especially, again, because at a young age, you don't know what's right and wrong, if you want to say it like that.
Yeah. So the question is basically how did I deal with it, or at what point did I experience a blossoming, sort of? Or like almost like I'm coming of age.
Exactly.
Towards a better state of being.
Yeah.
To be very honest, I don't think when I was in my teenager phase, I don't think I was at a point of struggle, but I was at a point of not awareness. Like I wasn't aware of the struggles that had shaped me. And so I was sort of blissfully operating in ignorance, because ignorance is bliss.
It is.
Yeah. So when I look back at my memories in my early, like teenager life up until university, there were so many like good memories. But when I look back, there, I wouldn't say like there were, again, I don't like using good or bad, but there were places or experiences that I now wouldn't have shown up the way I did. Like I'm now more aware of why I behaved that way, why my reaction was like that, why some things I took personally and now I learned to not take anything personally, why some things hurt me or really brought out the ugly side, the darkness that was inside. But I think blossoming came in phases and waves. Mainly the turnaround point was when I decided to move to Dubai. It was a major shift. In a lot of ways in our lives, we experience, and I like talking about beginnings, hence Bidaya, but we experience new beginnings when we decide to make a change in our life. It starts on a mental aspect and then you take that momentum forward.
I can imagine, honestly, moving from Beirut to Dubai it's a shift.
Yeah.
It's especially from in terms of like way of life, people, the hustle and bustle. It is quite a step, and I'm not so sure exactly what was, you can say, happening at the time in your life, but I'm so sure that it must have been something that was خلاص, it had to push you to do something that's so different that خلاص, now you've explored or exploring
of course
everything.
Basically it's very can I speak in Arabic sometimes? It's هي كتير هيك plain and simple. I was in a relationship, I broke up and then I changed my life kind of situation.
Okay, we love that.
Yeah, and it's as simple as that, and it's and at the same time even when I recall my thoughts then, I never wanted to just stay in Lebanon. I always wanted to broaden my horizon, explore the world as you put it, explore. I've always been curious. When I was young, كانوا يقولوا لي ست حشورة. I've never said this out loud, by the way. There was a show on TV when we were younger. I don't know if you've seen it. كان في الست حشورة
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. It was a kids show.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And so ست حشورة, for anyone I don't know who's listening, but Miss Curious. And so, but they would use it in a negative point, almost like I'm nosy, in English we say curiosity killed the cat, because it has a negative point of view. But for me, it was this child that had like the question why on their mind all the time, and wants to like really understand things. So later on, there was this science teacher, I won't forget one lesson. She asked, how do you know if someone is smart? Like, how do you assess what is being smart? All kids had so many different answers, and then she just wrote on the board, like, if you ask why, and if it's someone who's curious enough to ask and wants to understand the reasoning behind anything, and that's when in my mind it clicked. I want to be curious again. Like, it's not a negative thing. I want to ask why.
It's so true, by the way.
How did I get to this point? What was I trying to
about
say?
your move to Dubai?
Yeah, I've always been someone curious, to learn, to grow. I always say I'm a student of life. At the time, I really wanted a move out of Lebanon. Dubai wasn't my main or first primary city, but it happened, and I'm so happy that it did. So happy that it did. I can't imagine being anywhere else at the moment. Yeah.
I think that's a thought that everyone has, because honestly, everyone finds their, no pun intended, and this is not an ad, but everyone finds their bidaya in Dubai somehow, some way. Really, it's crazy, to be honest. So I want to sort of shift conversations a little bit into something that I find very important for me and to the podcast, and I think anybody who's listening, which is one, early childhood, because to me childhood is so over the last few years, I'm trying my best to understand my childhood, how I was, the way that I was, and how that shaped me to be the person that I am today. And also the role of family, because family is something that we all rely on in some way, shape, or another. And again, how those relationships, how those bonds shape how you are as a person, how you turn out to be. And then lastly, which is the bigger question on my mind, which is what it means for you, or what it means to be a man from your perspective as Nour.
Koon Rijjeil.
Koon Rijjeil, exactly.
But what's the first question?
So early childhood. So what was that like for you? Anything that, and how that shaped you today? غير انك كنت كتير حشورة وانت صغيرة.
Good one. Early childhood, actually up till the age of around 6 to 7, I was brought up with my family back in Africa. Okay. So my parents were residing there at the time, and we only moved back to Lebanon because a war broke out in Liberia. Alhamdulillah, نحن Lebanese from one place to another. I'm like, we used to tell my parents, out of all the countries in the world.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up there, and I grew up in an international environment, like going to an international school, people from all over the world, and for me, of course, this is integral to shaping my early understanding of humans, and then suddenly going to Lebanon and getting asked, "What are you?" And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, are you Muslim or are you Christian? And I started to see that there are, like, in different contexts, but people will judge you, people will put you in a box, this or that. And initially growing up, I didn't see that. I didn't see color, I didn't see race, I didn't see religion, and that in a negative context. So Liberia was Liberia in Africa. It was very interesting. Like I said, I'd say the highlight was being in a very international culture. That's what I took from it. And then moving to Lebanon was suddenly a change, a new beginning for me as a child, and having to adapt to the new place. I'd say I don't know if I can say I always fit in or not. I was always social. I don't think I had any problems or struggles in connecting with people, but I don't think I felt people connected enough to know me on a deeper level. But I always put a lot of effort to understand people. That's my coping mechanism. At the end of the day, I got to learn it's just another coping mechanism in how you survive in the world. So that's my early childhood, and then the next question was about family
and how those relationships shaped you as well.
My family is for sure, alhamdulillah, my biggest blessing. And I know we don't get to choose our family, we don't get to choose at all, but we always have a choice in how or what we make out of it. And what meanings we put to anything in life, including our relationship with our family. Growing up, my biggest struggle was with my mom. I was very close to my dad. And so there was always that in the way I perceived it was good cop, bad cop.
Pretty much how it always is.
Yeah. So the challenge was connecting with her, and her connecting with me as well. Later on, we got to have a conversation, multiple conversations around that, but it did impact me in different ways. Today, my relationship with them, I would say, is based on reciprocal respect and love and care in whatever form it is. There was a big part where for sure you would be like triggered and coming of age, there was a lot of anger bottled up. We got into a lot of fights, but I'm happy to like look at us today and see that there's a lot of maturity and understanding.
Yeah. Honestly, that's so important. I think especially when يعني دايما بحس like the don't know if إذا بتسي بس دايما the woman is always very close to the father from what I mean from what I see from my siblings and people around me. The girls are always closest to the father, and I've always wondered كمان how that shapes sort of what they're so going to the next question is how they shape or how they view masculinity, because دايما بيقولوا the first thing you learn is from the household. The household is the father and the mother, so how do you learn what those traits are, so womanhood and masculinity and all these things, and how that shapes how you view it today, and if it's any different from what they ever were or are.
So we're coming to Koon Rijjeil, be a man, basically. The term itself definitely comes loaded with the expectations of society and what society demands of that term itself, whether it's stepping up to a certain role, being between quotations tough, strong, again between quotations, society's loaded expectations of that term. But for me personally, again, coming back just to point that from a scientific point of view, whether it's how we're biologically men and women are different, or if we talk about masculine versus feminine traits, there are different aspects, whether it's the masculine traits of being disciplined, more determined, whereas feminine traits bring in more flexibility and softness as opposed to rigidity. But for me, it's not a matter of gender in terms of be a man. It's at the end of the day, we're all humans, and it's a matter of being a better version of yourself. So I wouldn't say in my mind Koon Rijjeil or be a man has a negative connotation, because it could also be a woman, and it's something you become, you grow into, you mature into. So if I give it a positive attribute, it would be a better version of yourself, be someone who is in tune to their emotions, someone who has a regulated nervous system, someone who's clear-minded or constantly working on bettering themselves and how they show up as a citizen, as a family member, as a friend, in whatever scope it is, and be authentic to yourself. That's also very important. That's how I would phrase it in my understanding. What else? How
was that any different from what you saw growing up? So was it traits that مثلا your father has?
Yeah.
Or is it something that you picked up on from experiences in life, people you've met? And
I would like to say that my dad he portrayed a very beautiful image of a father and a husband. To be very honest, I always say that if there's one thing I admire about how he shows up as a husband, not as a father, is like whatever happens with him and mom, he will always wake up and prepare the coffee for him and for her, even if they're not talking. It's like, I'm not sure if he's scared or
I would hope he's not. I would hope he's not scared. He's just not the visual.
Yeah, like out of compassion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But either way, I always thought that was so beautiful to see, like the details and how he showed up. And as a father, he was very playful, very, very playful growing up. And he never put into me and I only have 2 sisters. There were like 3 daughters. He never put into any of our minds any like discrepancy between like gender bias. He never put into our minds, because in our culture, in Arab culture, you need to have the boy. So you have three daughters, and they would ask my mom, so when's
I don't know. I don't plan this.
My dad never had this attitude ever, and بالعكس, he always encouraged us to go after our dreams, our ambitions, and to some degree, sometimes like he would show like this tough love. Like if I was running and I would fall, and then I'd look at him, I'm almost like tearing up because I want my daddy to come and pick me up. He'd be like, "Yalla, good job, get up," to teach me to rely on myself. Now, there is no person void of attributes that need to be worked on. But I would say, in terms at least of being a father, to me, because I can't speak on the behalf of my sisters, they experienced a different encounter, and I can't speak on behalf of my mother. At the end of the day, he's her partner, but I can speak on behalf of myself. And I think my dad exhibited or portrayed a beautiful image of what a positive, non-toxic man is.
And what is that exactly? Because any, how to say it politely?
Yeah.
Every on social media, you find a lot of this content of toxic masculinity, and maybe a few years ago there was this whole Andrew Tate movement, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you see as somebody who is not toxic?
Yeah.
Or because I think. Okay, I'm gonna need to roll up my sleeves here. No, I think, a lot of the times I feel like what a lot of men struggle with is this idea of, okay, what is toxic masculinity? Because every woman has her own definition of what that means, what that looks like. So there's the red lines. There are things obviously you don't cross, but I'm just really trying to figure that out.
What is not toxic?
Yeah.
So, and I come back here to say each person should be their authentic self. So at the end of the day, there is no person that can be 100% like the other at all. Like, we're all unique. So even when we say, again, a man or a woman being their authentic self, in my dad's case, what for me, or what he portrayed, in my opinion, as non-toxic masculine energy was someone who was playful, kind, loving, respectful. He never used harsh terminology. So there was no even when I threw a fist attitude, or he was always very calm and very patient. Patience. I don't like that's a virtue that I don't really have. I'm constantly trying to work on, but he's a very patient man. And so when I saw, growing up with these, seeing or witnessing my dad embody them, and it's how, and again, I want to emphasize here that when we talk about attributes, it's how you show it in action. It's not just giving qualities, descriptive qualities. These descriptive qualities are of a person's attitude, actions, behavior. So if I got into trouble, if I had an issue with my mom, the way he solved it was in a very calm, energy first attitude, a lot of questioning to try to understand, or reasoning. He always encouraged me to even reason with him, or to push back if I thought I had a different opinion. There was always an element of, let's have a conversation. And to some point, I'd be like, I don't want to have a conversation. كل مرة ما بدي نحكي بالموضوع. So that's what I mean by, and if you see these characteristics, again, it's not about gender. That's what I want to come back to. Again, it's not about gender. It's about being a better person, maturity.
That's really interesting, by the way, because a lot of things that what you said, I was thinking about the other day. So أول شيء كيف كنت عم تقولي إنه gonna go back a little bit, بس كيف عم تقولي إنه كل واحد يعني كيف أنت وأخواتك, you guys all had a different relationship with your parents. So me and my sister actually talked about this a while ago. No, keep her relationship with my dad is very different than me and my dad versus her and my and so on. But I think just going back to this idea of being your authentic self and all these traits, I think these are so important, especially when you're shaping the next generation come in, and whether you do it consciously or not, that always leaves an impact on someone. The way that you show up for somebody, the way that your dad was gonna maybe not give you the okay Allah Umi, no, get back up. In life you're gonna fall a million other times, so keep on going.
Exactly.
And I think as well, just especially going back to this idea of fatherhood and masculinity, I feel like it's so important to show your kids, whether your kid is a boy or a girl, those traits, exactly the ones that you've mentioned, because those are the ones that I feel make humans. I think anything less than that is just I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's the like there's a stark difference between a human race and then animals at the end of the day, and we constantly have to strive to rise in our consciousness. And reflecting something about childhood also, and when we talk about these characteristics or attributes that we see at the end of the day, at the power in really showing up with those attributes, not just saying I want to have these attributes, but how are you going to practice them is so important, because children initially learn through observation. That's the first mode of learning. They observe and then they mimic. So when we talk about raising a generation, and whoever is becoming a parent or as a parent needs to be very highly aware of every single thing they do, their facial expressions, their reaction, because their child is watching and learning, basically.
Yeah, I mean, as innocent as we think the kids are, they're not that innocent.
They're very smart.
They know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And I think as well, especially, I always feel like women, they usually they go for sort of similar traits to what, or they aspire to find somebody who has similar traits to their father, because I think that's asterisk, good qualities that their father has, because one, that's the first thing that they would know, the first thing that they would remember and feel comfortable with, but two, it's what makes the most sense, to be completely honest, to go for. And I wonder for you if that's something similar that you maybe thought about after or before your Bidaya moment. No? So when you are with somebody, okay, maybe you learn from things that, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that, this is X that I'm looking for.
Yeah. You know the famous saying that a woman looks for her father in every man she dates. I mean, to some extent.
Yeah.
But definitely when you're out in the world and you start meeting different humans, you definitely start to, initially when you're in your initial exposure, your point of reference, as you said, is again your family. That's where all the information and a major part of your mental map is formed. So, of course, whether consciously or unconsciously, you start to compare, this is similar to what I know. And what you know is what you've experienced, whether it's with your father or your mother. See, a lot of the time we emphasize the woman and her relationship with her father, but with her mom also, it plays a major role, and it will still show up in a relationship. That's why I say regardless of gender. Definitely when I put myself out there in the world and started meeting different people, there are different attributes that I felt, or then started to feel that these are qualities that I would like in a man or my partner, regardless of gender. What are we talking about here? But for me, in this case, and some of them maybe were similar to what I experienced with my dad. And here I would say patience, patience and playfulness. I feel like these are two qualities that I carried with me. But there are other things that I started to get exposed to that I thought were also interesting that maybe I never saw with my father. So it really depends, right?
Yeah.
But what's the question again?
The question, the statement, if you want, was more about Kif, how usually from what I hear or what I know, and usually the women they try to find somebody who has similar traits.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. Which what I started by saying, every woman again marries her or dates her father. When you start to do the self-work, again, you start to pick and choose and understand what you have to understand. What's your value system? What are your non-negotiables? What are your boundaries? What is your love language? And you're looking for a partner that you can work with. I'm not going to say a partner that has them. It's not a list and you don't tick.
It's funny.
Yeah. You start to become more aware of potential partners that could have a similar understanding or interest, at least in what you are also looking for, and you help one another. you work on them.
It's so funny because I was literally having this discussion the other day, and I was telling my friend, I was like, at the end of the day, whenever you want to marry someone or date someone, you're not going to sit with a notebook and be like, okay, long hair, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2. No, this is not. It's not possible. But what you can do is find somebody who you will love with everything that you have.
Yeah.
But you will also give them everything you have, in terms of your energy, your time, your care, your love, your affection, your everything that they might need. But also find someone that you can go on that journey with, where you're able to learn about yourself and they can learn about themselves through you.
Yes.
And you see things that you didn't even know about yourself.
Yes.
Yes. And that's and that for me has been the most transformative thought I've ever had between myself, to be honest, because historically I would always think okay بدي واحدة تكون 1 2 3 4 5, but then you realize you're like 1 2 3 4 5 doesn't exist. This is all imaginations. What you need to start doing is finding someone who is as close as possible that it is to you, to what you like,
and build from there.
Exactly, build from there and find things that honestly, like in my current relationship, I've never learned so much about myself as I did now. It's crazy.
Honestly, I think one of the most underrated tools of self-development or personal development is a relationship. No amount of personal work that you do in life, therapy, coaching, mentoring, read all the books and podcasts you want, nothing will make you face your innermost demons the way a relationship will do. Nothing will raise the mirror towards you and make you truly see yourself the way a relationship does. And you have to put in the work. That's what I constantly learn. You have to put in the work. Nothing comes easy. Nothing.
It's tough, but it's just one of those things. They say it a lot in the fitness and racing where they go like, how bad do you want it, right?
Yeah.
And it's really that question of how much do you really want this person and how far are you willing to go?
Yeah.
And how far are you willing, Kamena, to see who you really are?
Yeah.
Because again, we all think that we are all such amazing people.
Yeah.
But then when you're with someone, like, actually, about that, I'm not so great after all. I need to work on a lot of things. And that's Kamena, a lot of things that I've picked up on where I'm like, whoa, is that me? That doesn't feel like me. But again, that's just things that you find out by being with this person.
Yeah.
And even though and I feel like a lot of the times when you realize those things, you're like, this doesn't feel too good.
Yeah, it's irritating at first. You're like, no, like you get stubborn. You might be like, no, I don't want to do this again. Your mind starts to trick you into thinking that you're beyond that.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
No,
and either you're the problem or that person's the problem, because they're exposing everything. It's like, that's the point. That's
the point.
You know, and that's the thing that I've learned to like.
Yeah. And I don't think people talk about this enough. Recently, funny enough, I've been having this conversation also coming up to February 14th, where Valentine's happening, and Bidaya has an event on that day to help people.
Book your calendars.
Yeah.
Everyone, book now.
Yeah, book now. I don't know when this episode is airing. If it's happening in the coming week, then book now.
Book now. If not, book for 2027.
Or for any upcoming event where you get to really dive into your mind.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've been talking about this recently with some girlfriends, and I don't think people talk about this enough, the struggles to build a healthy relationship. Now with social media and a lot of people posting their love life, we see the pretty image, the aesthetic video, the flowers she received
The music.
The Vicky.
Always the music that's always works
the-
so perfectly with every video. It's
with
crazy.
the beat drop and she twirls
Literally.
in the video.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about the painful part or the struggles in building that healthy relationship. And so we assume that a healthy relationship naturally happens, and when you find the one, it's going to be smooth and easy. I've even I big time fell for that, that's why I'm telling you, no amount of self-work and self-development will make you face the truth as much as a relationship does. And recently I've been reading this book, and it's about love and spiritual growth. It's called The Road Less Traveled by Dr. M. Scott.
Okay, I should check
It's a very beautiful book. He's a psychiatrist. It was written a very long time ago, but it's about modern dating and modern life dating and love. And in the gist of the book, what I've taken out, which resonated, which is that the amount of self-maturity and self-development that you go through, the more, let's say, the more self-mature and self-aware you are, and the more love you're able to give, and the more spiritual you are, and it's proportionate. There's a lot of connection between deep, profound spiritualism and being able to love.
I need to read this book.
Yeah.
Because that's a really interesting
It's a powerful book. And so a big part of it is about understanding the mindsets of people from a psychiatry and psychology point of view. And then you look into what is love. And then the second part of the book would be on spirituality.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm coming to understand that in my own life. In a lot of ways, also people disconnect their connection to God or their spiritual practices from love and relationships. And honestly, they go hand in hand.
Send me the name of that book after the episode, because I would want to learn, honestly, more about that, to be fair. So as we're approaching Feb 14, what are the sort of things that, from your own experiences, right? What are the things that you feel, I know we said no genders, but men in general should know when it comes to love and relationships? Because I always feel like men always put up, myself included, always put up this image, man, this, but then you go you when you dig a little bit beneath the surface, you find that a lot of them have the same insecurities.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. It's the vulnerable part in us. So if your question is what advice or tip or point I would give to men, is to harness that feminine energy that they have a little bit, which brings out the vulnerable side. Normally, again, because of societal expectations and how they're brought up, they tend to really shut that door. But the only way through is to knock it down, to be okay with being seen. And so they have to open up to their partner. There's a new ongoing pandemic of men ghosting women that I really want to raise.
Is it new?
Yeah. If men are watching this show, I don't understand why. I mean, I can analyze why, but it's I've been hearing a lot of feedback from women that are in the dating scene, trying to find a relevant, significant other, serious relationship, but there's been a lot of feedback going on being ghosted. So a conversation starts, maybe they get to the first date, and then mid-conversation, the man disappears. And of course, it's because he's probably not interested. I mean, when your actions speak louder than your words, you're not interested. Had you been interested, you would continue. But a mature human being, and again, I'm not going to say the gender, but a mature human being would be capable of having the conversation and saying, hey, listen, I enjoyed having a cup of coffee. It was great getting to know you. But to be very honest, I'm not feeling it. And maybe, and hope you find someone else, for example. And women have always been, I would say, slightly better at this, the communication part.
Definitely.
So my tip to men,
Stop
in
ghosting
general,
women.
is get in touch with your feminine energy and be okay with being vulnerable. And for men who are trying to date, also don't ghost women.
Don't ghost
Have a
women.
mature conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something actually that I've been trying to wrap my head around recently, which is, you know, because going back to men and dating and relationships and all this,
Yeah.
there's this thing where I'm doing a bit of reading, and there's this thing where basically where men, or human beings, when they feel threatened, usually in a relationship, they normally put one foot out,
Yeah.
and that's in the form of hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. And I still didn't get to the later part of the book, so I want to get your perspective on how do sort of men avoid getting all of these, not gonna say these hot and cold feelings of either, you know, like either just jumping straight in or just not jumping at all.
Yeah.
You know, so to avoid this gray zone where you're.
Yeah. Actually, I actually like gray zones.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna make it more positive now, because same way how I took Koon Rijjeil and give it a positive, refined understanding of the terminology. When we first meet someone, we come in with expectations. Okay. Now, let alone everything that is in our subconscious mind and who we are and what we've been through, our understanding. We come in with a set of expectations, whether we like it or not, about what we're looking for. And so when we're in that hot and cold, it's because some things have started to trigger, or some things, when we say I didn't like something, I got an ick, it's a trigger. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a trigger. And you really need to ask yourself why. Where is it stemming from? But what's even more important is having that scary conversation with the person you're dating. It's so hard. You have no idea, or maybe you do, how hard it is to be in your initial dating phase. And maybe this would lead to a solid relationship in great compatibility, but you're putting one foot out because of something that triggered you, and you can't bring yourself to confront the person and tell them, listen, I love these qualities in you. I've recently come to enjoy 1, 2, 3, but I've also been feeling insecure with 1, 2, 3, or annoyed. But you have to express, because you don't know what the other person is feeling. They probably have something very similar.
Yeah, it hurts when you find out that they don't like things about you.
Exactly. And so it comes down again to conversation. And I keep on throwing the word here, maturity, to have the conversation.
And for me, it's always so important in the moment. Not even wait. No. I don't wait.
Don't wait.
Something is wrong, we talk about it in the moment. And for me, what I don't like doing in general is to bottle things up and then it all explodes. No, don't explode. Just talk about it in the moment with the person. I don't like 1, 2, 3, 4. I think maybe sometimes where it gets a little bit difficult, for me, I don't know if other men as well, but or men or women, but or humans. I think when it's like a little bit later on in the relationship, when it's like, we've been together for a while, but enough. There are things that they really get to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that's when it gets a lot harder to sit and talk, because at that point, anything that you didn't like should have come up, in my opinion, should have come up earlier.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also takes a mature adult on the receiving end to be like, okay, you know what? I understand it. Let's talk about it. Let's try to fix it. If something that I can do to avoid it, let's do it. If not, then
And sometimes it doesn't come earlier on because you're in the honeymoon phase and you're just really happy and enjoying the moment that you think it doesn't bother you. Like you see it, but you're almost like, you know, when they say like a guy is in love and he sees her as like amazing, like الشمس طالعة
ray of
منه,
sunshine.
ray of sunshine, like, and he can't see any fault. And same thing on the other side, like they stop seeing the faults. They do, but they turn a blind eye to those like things that they feel like are bothering them. So they start to come up, like you said, later on when it's post the honeymoon phase, around 6-7 months down the line, and then the counterpart and the partner is like, now you're telling me, like now it's
after all this time we spoke, now you realized,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's always sort of, I think to sort of like wrap it back to what you were saying, is that it just needs, you know, mature adults and understanding adults who will sort of have an open, honest conversation. Because I feel like a lot of the times I'll talk about myself sometimes is I actually, like any person, you will get defensive. Yeah. There are moments where somebody says, you know what, Noor, I don't like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Your
and you're
ego's gonna come up.
You're like, wait a minute, what? You know what? I don't like, you know, and that becomes an issue, I think, for a lot of people, where, you know, you don't want to seem so egotistic, but at the same time you need to be understanding, but at the same time you want to, it's such a mind juggler. So which is why you need to be open to having open, honest conversations, whatever it is, you know, and never bottle things up. I say this to my girlfriend all the time. I said, please, if I've ever done something wrong, please tell me in the moment, because I don't want you to bottle things up and then eventually it just it explodes a little bit in both of our faces. So and I think that's been an amazing thing for both of us, and I think for any other people who do this, because it just saves everyone the mental energy. Because I'm gonna keep calm, and then boom, no, just in the moment say it, and then we could move from there. Yeah, exactly. So Noor, the way we like to end every episode, I don't know how time passed by so quickly. Literally,
honestly, I can't believe it's ending.
There's a part 2. Okay. Book your calendars. So the way we like to end every episode is I'm gonna hand you this notebook. Okay. And I'm gonna ask you to write down a quote that's helped you in your darkest, hardest times. Okay. And something that you would say to somebody when they're struggling themselves. Here you go. Do you want to take me through? You want quotes?
Me to read it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I might have skipped a small part of it, but it's a shortened version of it. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your freedom to choose.
What's been a moment that you've lived through that? So,
what resonated with me with that quote, and I use it frequently, even with my clients, and understanding that. Of course, understanding, first of all, how our mind works, but understanding that we are constantly facing stimulus. And some of the stimulus that we face can be triggering. And so when we react, whether we react with anger, aggression, or even self-loathing and self-sabotage, that's a response. But there's a gap, there's a small gap between when something's triggers us and right before we take a response, be it a thought as a response or a response, whether it's physical action, there's that gap, and that gap lies the utmost freedom of a person. And that quote is by Viktor Frankl, and in his book A Man's Search for Meaning, where he came to find freedom even when he was imprisoned. And so I really resonated with that quote. And today, even neuroscience and understanding the plasticity of the mind and how we can truly transform ourselves, it starts with understanding that we do have the freedom to choose in any situation. You are a free person. It's in your mind.
Man, that's an incredible way to end it. Like, honestly, I think somebody, I needed to hear it, but I know somebody watching this definitely needed to hear that.
Well, I hope it resonates with whoever is watching and who needs to hear it.
I hope so too. Nour, thank you really for sharing all of your knowledge, wisdom, and just your life story and being you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Likewise.
I appreciate it. It was fun.
I hope so.
Time flew.
Time flies by when you're having fun, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.